People don't wake up one morning and casually decide to erase someone they love from their life. Cutting off a parent, a sibling, a partner, or a longtime friend is rarely impulsive. It's usually the final chapter of a very long, very quiet internal struggle. From the outside it looks cold. From the inside it often feels like survival. One of the hardest truths to accept is that cutting someone off is often an act of desperation, not cruelty. Most people who do it have tried everything else first. They've explained themselves. They've compromised. They've swallowed their feelings. They've hoped things would change. And when nothing does, distance becomes the last form of self-protection they have left. At the core of this behavior is emotional overwhelm. When someone is constantly hurt, dismissed, invalidated, or drained, their nervous system goes into defense mode. Over time, the body learns that proximity equals pain. So the mind starts looking for relief. Not revenge. Relief. And sometimes, the only way to quiet the chaos inside is to remove the source of it entirely. Another powerful psychological factor is unresolved power imbalance. In many relationships, especially family ones, one person is expected to tolerate more, forgive more, and stay quiet more. When someone grows emotionally and realizes they are always the one adapting, they hit a breaking point. Cutting off contact becomes a way of reclaiming agency. It's not about punishment. It's about finally saying, I matter too. There's also accumulated resentment, which is far more dangerous than open conflict. Some people don't explode when they're hurt. They internalize. They stay polite. They keep the peace. But every unspoken disappointment stacks up quietly. By the time they leave, they're not reacting to one event, they're responding to years of emotional debt that was never paid back. Many people who cut off loved ones are also highly self-aware and introspective. They've spent time reflecting on patterns, not just incidents. They don't leave because of one argument. They leave because they see the same cycle repeating over and over. Apology, hope, disappointment, silence, again and again. Eventually, pattern recognition overrides emotional attachment. Another uncomfortable truth is that love alone isn't enough to sustain a relationship. Psychology shows that relationships also require safety, respect, and emotional reciprocity. When someone feels consistently unseen or misunderstood, love starts to feel painful instead of comforting. At that point, distance feels less lonely than staying. For some people, cutting off loved ones is tied to trauma responses. Those who grew up in emotionally unpredictable or unsafe environments often develop a heightened sensitivity to stress. When old dynamics resurface, control, criticism, guilt, it can trigger the same survival instincts they had as children. Cutting off contact isn't about the present moment, it's about escaping a familiar emotional threat. There's also the role of boundaries finally being enforced. Many people mistake boundaries for ultimatums, but psychologically, boundaries are limits placed to preserve mental health. When boundaries are repeatedly ignored, the boundary doesn't disappear, the relationship does. Cutting off contact becomes the boundary when all others have failed. From the outside it can look extreme. But for the person doing it, it often feels like choosing between losing someone else and losing themselves. And when faced with that choice, self-preservation usually wins. It's important to understand that cutting off loved ones doesn't mean the person feels nothing. In fact, many feel intense grief. They miss the version of the person they hoped would exist. They mourn the relationship they wanted, not the one they had. Silence doesn't mean peace. Sometimes it means quiet sadness mixed with relief. On the other side, people who are cut off often experience shock and confusion. They replay conversations, searching for the moment everything went wrong. And sometimes there isn't a single moment. Just a slow erosion of trust and emotional safety that went unnoticed until it was gone. Psychology also shows that people cut off others when communication no longer feels safe or effective. When every attempt to express feelings leads to dismissal, defensiveness, or blame, the brain learns that speaking up is pointless. Silence becomes the only remaining option. Another factor is identity growth. As people mature emotionally, their tolerance for chaos, disrespect, or emotional manipulation decreases. What they once normalized they can no longer justify. Cutting someone off isn't always about changing the other person. It's about honoring the person they've become. And then there's guilt. Deep, heavy guilt. Many people stay in harmful relationships far longer than they should because they feel responsible for other people's emotions. Cutting someone off means accepting that you can't save everyone, and that realization is painful. But it's also liberating. Here's the part most people don't talk about. Cutting off loved ones is rarely permanent by design. For many, it's meant to create space, not erase love. It's a pause, not always a goodbye. But reconciliation only becomes possible if real change happens. And psychology shows that distance is sometimes the only thing that forces reflection on both sides. If you've ever cut someone off, it doesn't mean you're heartless. It means you reached a point where staying hurt more than leaving. And if you've been cut off, it doesn't automatically mean you're a villain. It may mean there were wounds you didn't see, or couldn't acknowledge. Ultimately, this behavior sits at the intersection of pain, growth, and self-preservation. It's not clean. It's not easy. And it's rarely done without consequences. But for many people, it's the moment they finally choose their mental health over familiarity. If this video resonated with you, whether you're the one who walked away or the one left behind, take a moment to reflect, not judge. Human behavior is complex, and most actions make sense when you understand the psychology behind them. If you found value in this perspective, like the video, share it with someone who might need it, subscribe for more deep psychology content, and comment your thoughts or experiences below. Your story might help someone else feel less alone.